1. You learned to read the room before you learned to read a book. As a child, you became fluent in the language of adult moods, the particular silence before a fight, the way someone's shoulders told you whether it was safe to speak. You became an expert in other people's feelings while your own sat quietly in a corner, waiting for a turn that rarely came. 2. You were the one people leaned on. Not because you were strong, you were a child, but because the adults around you had quietly appointed you to a role you never auditioned for. Confidant, peacekeeper, emotional support. You carried it because no one told you it wasn't yours to carry. 3. You find it genuinely difficult to ask for help. Not just uncomfortable, difficult in the way that a language you were never taught is difficult. You learned early that needing things was risky, that depending on people had a cost. So you became relentlessly self-sufficient and called it a personality trait. 4. Praise makes you uneasy. A compliment lands and something in you immediately looks for the catch. This is not false modesty. It's the residue of a childhood where love often came with conditions attached, where good things tended not to stay. 5. You have a complicated relationship with play. As an adult, unstructured time can feel vaguely wrong, like you're forgetting something important, like you haven't yet earned the right to just exist without being useful. Leisure can feel like a test you might fail. 6. You can identify the emotional needs of a stranger in 5 minutes, but spend years not knowing what you yourself actually want. Tuning into other people became such a survival skill that tuning into yourself never quite got the same practice. You are perceptive about everyone except, in certain deep ways, you. 7. You became very good at managing other people's anxiety while quietly developing your own. The hypervigilance that kept you safe as a child, always anticipating, always preparing, doesn't switch off in adulthood. It just finds new things to monitor. You're excellent in a crisis. You are sometimes always in one. 8. You have a complicated relationship with anger. Either it frightens you, because you watched what it did in the house you grew up in, or it comes out sideways, compressed into sarcasm or silence or a very controlled kind of irritation. Somewhere along the way, someone taught you that your anger was not welcome, and part of you still believes them. 9. You take care of other people beautifully and find being taken care of unbearable. Someone doing something kind for you, a meal, a favor, concern offered without agenda, can produce a discomfort you can't quite explain. It's not ingratitude. It's just that warmth, when it arrives without strings, feels unfamiliar in a way that is almost physical. 10. You grew up faster than your peers and spent years feeling like you were slightly out of sync with them. While other kids were worried about nothing in particular, you were managing something real. This gave you a certain early seriousness, a gravity, and cost you a lightness you are perhaps only now beginning to recover. 11. You are very comfortable with responsibility and quietly terrified of freedom. Being needed gives you structure. Having no obligations, no one depending on you, nothing to manage. That's the thing that actually makes you anxious. You know how to be a caretaker. You are still learning how to just be a person. 12. You minimized your own pain as a matter of habit. It wasn't that bad. Other people had it worse. I'm fine. This is not perspective, or not only perspective. It's a coping mechanism you built early, because there wasn't always space for your pain to be witnessed. It was easier to make yourself smaller than to risk not being believed. 13. You are drawn to people who need fixing, partly because it is familiar, partly because loving someone who is struggling feels more legible to you than being loved when you are fine. The dynamic of being needed is a home you recognize. You are slowly learning that you are allowed to be loved simply, without earning it. 14. There is a version of your childhood self that you haven't fully let grieve yet. Not the whole childhood, maybe just specific things. The ordinary carelessness you didn't get. The summers that should have been lighter. The particular freedom of being the child in the room, not the one quietly holding everything together. That grief is real and patient, and it will wait for you. 15. You are more resilient than most people you know, and it came at a price. The strength is real. Don't let anyone take it from you. But somewhere underneath it lives the child who needed more than they got, who adapted because they had to, who grew up not because they were ready, but because the circumstances required it. Recognizing that is not weakness. It is, in fact, the beginning of something that might be called, slowly, imperfectly, rest.